All right, so the verdict regarding Bill Cosby came back yesterday, and of course, social media was really talking about it. Um, I personally was a big fan of Bill Cosby um, when I was younger, when as a young adult. When I was a kid, I didn't really appreciate the show that much, but as a young adult, I thoroughly enjoyed it because it was very wholesome. And the Cosby Show portrayed black people as professionals. They weren't, when most of the time when I saw black media, it pretty much was just everybody was like trap stars and thugs and stuff. So now looking back at like the 90s and some of the 80s shows, I realized that we really we really missed that. We had a lot of good shows back then that I didn't appreciate. But anyway, um, I saw something interesting on Facebook regarding Bill Cosby and the stuff people were posting. Now, a lot of people were disappointed in the verdict. A lot of people were upset, that sort of thing. A lot of people didn't really care one way or another. All of those mindsets or all of those opinions are understandable to me. However, there's one thing that I don't understand, and um, one thing I didn't understand at all, and I'm going to show you right here. I'm just looking at some of the posts from Facebook. So this is what I posted. And I want to show some of the other posts that I saw regarding the Bill Cosby case. While I am disappointed in what has happened with Bill Cosby, I do not feel sorry for him. He chose to live a lifestyle that opened him up for this kind of thing. Personal accountability and integrity are the best safeguards. But Bill's work should not be discarded simply because he's a flawed human being. We're all equally flawed, and we all equally needs God's grace and mercy. So no one is righteous, but there are consequences for the decisions that we make. I'm currently dealing with the painful implications of some very bad decisions that I've made. So I do not say this as someone passing judgment, but to remind everyone that the best way to protect yourself from the scheming of others is to guard your own behavior. Consider this verse from the Old Testament. So I share a verse from the Old Testament, which is Daniel 6, is 6, 3, and 4, I believe. Daniel distinguished himself above the governors and satraps because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king gave thought to setting him over the whole realm. So the governors and satraps sought to find some charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could not find no charge or fault because he was faithful, nor was there any error or fault found within him. I believe that's Daniel 6, 3 and 4. I forgot to put the 3 there. And that scripture speaks for itself. It says that this man had people that was trying to conspire against him, and because they were jealous of him. And probably, if you read more of the story, it was like his religion and it's all these different things they didn't like about him. But he was such a good worker and he was such a good man that they couldn't trap him with anything. They eventually tried to set him up and basically get him in trouble with his religion. But that's crazy. When you have enemies that can't even, you have enemies that want to scheme against you, but you're such a good person that they can't even do it. That's almost unheard of, That's certainly not me. That's certainly probably not anyone I know. But the whole point is, you can control what you can control. You cannot control anyone else. Therefore, especially when you become a prominent figure or a wealthy figure or all of that stuff, it's very important that you protect yourself from any potential scandals or exploitation. Now, Bill Cosby chose to live a life of promiscuity, whatever. He chose to he chose to get down, and he's not the only one. I'm not saying that he's the only one or he did something that was, extra worse than anyone else. I'm not assuming guilt or innocence here. My whole point is he chose to live a lifestyle in a way that left him open to this kind of thing, whether it's true or not. He put himself in that position. And that's my big thing, that I feel as though, and you're going to see why I say this, but the biggest problem in the black community is the unwillingness to be accountable for the decisions we make and the positions we put ourselves in. So I'm just looking at some of the Facebook stuff will help you to see what I mean. So This is my. If Cosby is held accountable for his past crime, should white folk be held accountable for slavery? And then there was a little dialogue here, like, well, the people who did slavery are dead, so what are you talking about? You know, there was some reasonable discussion about that comment and the implications of what he was saying. You're going to see a theme with all of these. I'm only going to show you a couple, but you're going to see a common theme. Bill Cosby found guilty on all charges. Wow, maybe he should have had a defense lawyer. So I'm going to tell you what it is. What you're going to see is that, except for maybe two, what you're going to see is that most of these comments, none of them take into account that Bill Cosby actually did something. He actually stepped outside of the confines of marriage. He was living like a wild, promiscuous lifestyle. All these different things. But what you'll find is that hardly anyone actually deals with the fact that he put himself in the situation. Everyone will talk about conspiracy theory. They'll talk about racism and prejudice within the system, but they won't talk about what he actually did. So, just look. So, maybe he should have had a woman defense lawyer. See, it's not about maybe he shouldn't have done it, or maybe it's just. Let's just keep going. SMH. Okay, since they want to call justice, let's see if Donald Trump be found guilty. He's no better. Crime is crime, rape is rape. And then I said, well, Donald Trump never raped anyone. And we had like a little back and forth. And it's like, she's like, you don't know what you're talking about. Someone else said, oh, the whole grab the woman by her privates thing. I said that wasn't a rape thing. He was saying that what Trump was saying is that if you're a celebrity, the women let you do that. And not saying that I approve of that kind of behavior, but it's not the same thing as rape. It's not the same thing as drugging someone and doing what Bill Cosby did. So again, this one is since they want to call justice. Notice what you're going to see here is that none of these people are concerned about, okay, if Bill Cosby did this, then let the punishment fit the crime. Or if he didn't do this, may he get off. None of it has to do, I mean, this right here just kind of concedes that he's guilty. It's kind of conceding that Cosby's guilty. And it's not even saying, okay, justice is being done here. It's like mad that justice is being done here. It's like you don't want justice being done here because it's not done somewhere else. That doesn't make any sense. I have a video about that kind of mindset on my YouTube channel, so check that out. 72 men plus your current president have been accused of sexual misconduct. Most were fired or resigned. None were found guilty except one. Stay woke. So my first thing I wanted to I started to reply. I hit comment and I started to reply, and I thought hold on a second. And I thought, are you saying that there's only 72 men in this world, or excuse me, are you trying to say that there's only 72 men in this country that have been accused of sexual misconduct? Because this statement really doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It really doesn't. So I don't even know where she's getting that from, but and the idea of only one person was found. So Bill Cosby is the only man that's been found guilty of sexual misconduct. It's not even sexual misconduct, it's rape. There's a difference between rape and consensual sex that you may see as immoral. That's totally different than rape. So how do people not know this? Next one. Since we are going back in time, when America going on trial for the rape of millions of black women during slavery? All right. In terms of this one, I don't even know where to begin. When is America going on trial? Who is alive now that raped someone during slavery. I don't understand where people get this from. People don't think. So the entire country is supposed to go on trial. Did the entire country rape people? What about the people? I don't even. Look, Bill Cosby did not settle financially with most of these women. Most of the women did not get a dime. That is why they are happy and feel vindicated. Also, those women were from different races and backgrounds. His case is different. So this person is saying, like, he's replying to like the whole conspiracy thing. So that's why he says they didn't get a dime. So it's like you can't say they did it for money. They're all from different races and backgrounds. So he's saying, like, well, you can't say it's just a race thing. His case is different because he gave them pills. He said they were allergy pills, but obviously they were Quaaludes. If all of the women got dizzy and passed out, they were Quaaludes, illegal drugs. He used his position of power to take advantage of the ladies. Now, I don't really know about that so much. His position of prestige, maybe, or his celebrity, which is actually very common. Yes, it was probably a common practice back then, but times have changed. A woman cannot give proper consent if they are on Quaaludes or drugs. Now, this makes sense. He's dealing with the facts of the case. It's not about conspiracy theory. It's not about, I don't know, resentment of your opinion of injustice or favoritism or whatever. It's about, this is what the case said. So look, he did it and he's guilty because of what the evidence says, not because of feelings or anything, conspiracy theories or anything else. This is a person that has some common sense. You know that you're not going to see that often on social media. Maybe smart man there. All right, so since Bill Cosby going to jail, can the lady who lied on Emmett Till please go to jail too? This actually is a question that makes sense. This is a question that makes sense. But the only issue I have with this is, why weren't you saying that from the time that I guess he found out that this woman was lying? Why hasn't he been advocating that since then? Why do you wait till something else happens? Probably, who knows how long after he's learned about this lady. Why do you wait till now to bring up that? They're totally unrelated. They have no correlation whatsoever. And I know there's a point he's trying to make. He's trying to say that there's an injustice and there's favoritism or whatever. Look, so how about this? So because this lady has not been taken to jail, are you saying that they should not send Bill Cosby to jail for what he did too? Because that's the kind of logic that I'm starting to see. That's the implications of what you're saying. It's like next one. No matter how you feel about Bill Cosby verdict, Nas has been accused of abuse, etc. The takeaway is that we need to learn to separate the human from the works they produce. These folks are flawed and full of baggage like the rest of us, but still F Kanye, he's trash. This person made a whole bunch of sense until they got to that last sentence. So yeah, separate people from the works that they create. Bill Cosby is not Dr. Huxtable. And it's just like you can't just be caught up in their celebrity and their fictitious characters or their music or whatever. You have to judge them by who they are as a person. And that makes sense. This whole thing about, but still F Kanye, he's trash. That's just because he's a Trump supporter. So whatever. People are stupid. 80 years old, blind, and bad health. How long do you think? Let me check something real quick. All right, there you go. 80 years old, blind, and bad health. How long do they think he will last in prison? This whole case was rigged and minds were already made up. Guilty, period. 50 years later, now everyone comes forth. We have no real truth to what happened back then. Only them, God, and Bill knows the truth. But to bring this up decades later is so unreal. The jury was questionable and the judge, they are corrupt. So now, here's the thing about this. So first she says, 80 years old, blind, and bad health. How long do they think he will last in prison? Well, why does that matter? If he did the crime, and if he's guilty of the crime, then let him get the proper punishment. That's justice. That's justice. What if someone had? What if there was an 80-year-old former Klan member who used to hang people? And then they people come back and they bring up evidence from back in the day. Are you going to say, look, we don't know what happened back in the day, the witnesses are dead and this, and plus the person's old, you should let him go? Or are you going to say, no, he needs to pay for the atrocities that he committed? And I guarantee you this person will say that they need to pay for the atrocities that they committed. Because it's Bill, because it's a black man, it's it's like all of this stuff wrapped into one. All the stuff wrapped into one. This whole case was rigged. The minds were already made up of guilty, period. How you know? You've already made up your mind that he's innocent. You've already made up your mind that he's innocent. So logically, other people have the right to make up their mind that he's guilty. 50 years later, now everyone comes forth. So what? Who cares? That has nothing to do with whether it's true or not. It's just, who cares? Notice again, what you see is that there's hardly anyone that talks about Bill's role in this. They just talk about everything else. We have no real truth to what happened back then. Only them, God, and Bill knows the truth. So y'all say that, but then somebody, if I told you, if I told you that, hey, this white guy, such and such, used to be in the Klan, and I post a picture of him on social media and say, this guy used to be in the Klan back in his 50s, this person will probably believe it. They won't have the same attitude like, look, who knows what happened back then? I can't judge this person. I wasn't there. No one knows. But they wouldn't say that. They would probably look at that person differently the whole time that they know him, all because of something I said. Even though, just like with Bill, you weren't there. You don't know what happened or whatever. I just don't understand how people come up with this stuff. The jury was questionable, and the judge, they are corrupt. How is the jury questionable? Do you know anything about the jury? Do you know anything other than what the news tells you? So you're going to form your opinion on the jury from a heavily filtered source, because all news sources are heavily filtered. They tell you what they want you to know. And the judge was corrupt. Based on what? How do you know the judge is corrupt? Do you even know the judge's name? It's just... See, but again, it has nothing to do with the facts, the evidence that was presented or brought up. I wonder if people even know the evidence. They probably don't even know anything other than what the a 2-minute news story told them. And they formed their opinion on it. Y'all can say and make jokes about Bill Cosby all you want. He still opened doors for our people. Helped empowering black students to go to college. The Cosby Show changed lives and perceptions about black people. He shared culture and history in 30 minutes. Funny how now, before I finish, I agree with all of that right there. So my personal view is, even though I've already shared my post about the Cosby thing, but that show, the Cosby Show, is still a great show, and I can still enjoy it. I remember when this first all started coming out, it was kind of difficult to watch it because I just kept thinking about it every time I saw the show. But it's still, that's like the best show on TV. Like, that was like the best show on TV. So we should not discredit the show and like his work. Like the woman said, we shouldn't discredit his work and the other work that he's done. He's done all kind of stuff in the community just because he's a flawed individual. You know. And one person, not this person here, but one person was saying, she was saying, well, people don't know how to feel. Because on one hand, he has this tremendous body of work. On his other hand, he has some despicable acts. So people don't know whether to love him or, people don't know whether they should like him or not. And I'm like, why do you have to like him or not? Why can't you just appreciate the work that he done, but hold him accountable for the acts that he did? They're two different things. everybody's life down here on the field, life that as we live day to day is not so black and white. It's not just, oh, those are the bad guys and those are the good guys. No. It's each person does good and bad. And you recognize the good that a person does and you recognize the bad that a person does. And you have a fair perspective of them based on everything. Not just taking the good and ignoring the bad. Not just ignoring the good and taking the bad. I think I said that right. Funny how influential wealthy black people get dragged through the mud. So for me, I'm going to focus on the good he did indeed do for our people, our culture, and our historical colleges. My prayer is that he serves no time for this. He was stripped already, I guess. Let him live the rest of his life. But again, would you say the same thing to a former Klans member who used to hang people? Now, obviously, rape and murder is not the same thing, but it's just the idea of, oh, he suffered enough. Because if a rich college quarterback, starting quarterback, goes to court for a rape case and he loses his scholarship and his dad takes away his trust fund or whatever, and then the judge says, oh, he suffered enough, I'm not going to send him to jail, you'll flip out. You'll get mad. You won't accept that. It just doesn't. I don't know. It's just like, do you want justice or not? And people don't really want justice. They don't want justice, and they're rooting for somebody that they care about and that they like, which is understandable. But you got to be consistent. You can't do that, but then get mad when other people do that and they get off easy. If you want other people to do their justice, to serve their time and all of that stuff, and you want justice, then you have to be consistent when it's the person that you like yourself that's in that same situation. You got to be consistent. Justice doesn't work if it's not consistent. And that's the last one I got for you. But I just wanted to point out, like, if you notice, hardly anybody really said, hey, the simplest thing which could be said is Bill could have avoided all of this had he kept his thing to himself, had he not slept around with all these women, had he not given them drugs or whatever. And you may say, well, look, that's his sex life, or he's an adult or whatever. But again, you're a celebrity, you're a black man, and this is, a lot of this was back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, back when racial tensions and stuff was still high and racism was we were still trying to get through that whole period. And it's like, he didn't protect himself. He didn't protect himself. So the consequences of not protecting yourself is that there are people, for whatever reason, and at this point, I don't care what the motivation is, but you have people for whatever reason looking for ways to hurt you. And I'm not saying necessarily maliciously, because I'm not saying that these women are lying. I'm just saying something that's going to hurt your brand and your name. You left an opening for these things to happen. You got to know that if you're a wealthy person, you got to know that if there was a woman that actually did like you, we know how women can get when they are scorned. So it's like, you live this lifestyle and you run the risk of certain things happening, and you have to face it. But no one's saying that. It's, oh, the judges are the corrupt, or why now, or this is a shame, this shouldn't happen to him, or why are they going after him and no one else? But no one is saying all of this could have been prevented had he had complete power over this. He had complete power over this. And this is weird because people will mock Mike Pence because Mike Pence says he's not going to dinner with a woman. He's married. He's saying, I'm not going to dinner with a woman. I'm not working late with my secretary. I'm not doing anything because I don't want any room for accusations. So it's like, you'll mock him for saying that. But then when a man doesn't protect himself that way and he basically ruins his legacy, you get mad. I just don't understand it. And again, like, just looking at these text messages, these Facebook posts, it just reminds me The biggest problem we have in the black community is that we never are accountable. We never want to be accountable for the things that we can control, and we don't hold other people accountable for the things that they can control. We rather focus our time and energy on things we can't control or things that are more difficult to control instead of grasping what we can take hold of. Just look at Daniel. Daniel was so sharp that nobody couldn't do nothing to him. They couldn't even scheme against him. And again, like, that's me. That's not me at all. I don't know if they'll ever be me because I'm not that great of a person. But at the same time, that's what you gotta strive for, especially when you're in a position of power. If you're in a position of wealth, privilege, influence, all of those. So y'all are saying that if the narrative is that the system is racist and they want to keep us down, and Bill Cosby is somebody that wanted to pull us up by educating us. He's also wealthy. He's also a celebrity. So he's got like 3 or 4 things all wrapped in one that just has a big bullseye on him. And he didn't live that way. He lived in a way to enjoy the privilege that he had. Now he's reaping what he sows. So I just don't understand why no one wants to talk about that. You can still like Bill Cosby. You can still be disappointed in the verdict, but still hold him responsible for his actions. And there was a few people who were willing to do that, but a lot of people aren't. A lot of people want to talk about everything but. And that's why nothing ever changes in the black community. Because you're not dealing with the cause of the problem, which is mostly our bad behavior. You're always blaming it on someone else. Even if you have agents working against you, if you have the power to stop certain things or to start certain things, and you don't use that power, then you shouldn't blame anyone else.